Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something really quite beautiful, the world of Claude Monet's water lilies. We got some great material from you on this, and it frames these paintings as, well, a truly revolutionary Impressionist masterpiece,
Yeah.
which is interesting, right? Because it's so easy to just see the beauty and maybe miss that revolutionary angle.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Monet's water lilies, who doesn't know them? They really are among the most famous Impressionist works anywhere in the world. Instantly recognizable, iconic, really.
Yeah, iconic is the word. But like we said, there's this fascinating story underneath that beauty. The material you sent really emphasizes how radical the Impressionists actually were for their time. So what kind of problems did that cause for them, that radical approach?
Well, the big one initially was they just couldn't get their work shown. They were effectively shut out from the Salon.
Okay, the Salon.
And you have to understand, the Salon wasn't just, any old gallery. It was the official exhibition, the establishment, sanctioned by the Academy. It was the absolute gatekeeper for artistic success, for public taste, certainly in France at that time.
Wow. Okay, so being rejected from that was a major blow.
Huge. So the question becomes, what were they doing that was so out there, so offensive even, that the establishment just said no?
And digging into this material, what's really striking, what jumps out, is that it wasn't only how they painted the style, it was also why they were painting in the first place. It suggests that maybe for the first time, really, artists painted simply for enjoyment, for the pleasure of it.
Exactly. And to get how radical that was, you need to think about art history before them, centuries of it. Art was overwhelmingly made on commission.
Right, like for specific jobs.
Precisely. You painted portraits for wealthy patrons who paid you, or you did these grand religious paintings for the church. Art was, in many ways, a service, a job. You fulfilled the client's demands, subject matter, style, everything.
So the artist wasn't just expressing themselves freely.
Not in the same way, no. The patrons often called the shots. So for Monet and, his circle to basically say, hold on, I'm painting this light on the water because I want to, because it fascinates me. That was, well, it was like a philosophical earthquake in the art world.
Yeah.
It fundamentally challenged the whole purpose of art up to that point. And that's a massive reason why they were seen as so revolutionary. And yeah, frankly, kind of threatening to the old guard.
Okay, so the motivation, the why, was revolutionary. Painting for joy. But what about the paintings themselves? The actual look? Because you're right, if you stand close to a water lilies, it's not a photograph, not at all.
No, definitely not. And that was the other shock. Beyond why they painted, how they painted was visually jarring to people back then. They were trying to capture something really elusive, like the way light hits water for just a split second.
Those fleeting moments.
Exactly. Fleeting moments, the atmosphere, the impression. And they used these quick, visible brushstrokes to do it.
Which people weren't used to seeing.
Not at all. They were used to paintings being highly finished, polished, incredibly detailed, almost like, well, like you said, a photograph. So this approach, this loose, sketchy feel, which is where the name Impressionism came from, and it wasn't a compliment at first.
Right, it was meant critically.
Yeah, it was seen as lazy, unfinished work, like a preparatory sketch, not a proper painting. It just completely flew in the face of what everyone thought a painting should look like.
So putting it all together then, what we're really seeing emerge from this deep dive is that the radical nature of Impressionism, and maybe water lilies is the perfect example. It wasn't just the style, the broken brushstrokes, the focus on light. Important, yes. But it came from something deeper. This fundamental shift in why art was being made, moving away from art, for patrons, for the church, for institutions, towards art created just for the artist's own satisfaction, their own joy. And the big irony, maybe, is that this very freedom, this internal motivation, is what got them rejected initially by places like the Salon.
That's a great summary. And if you sort of step back and look at the bigger picture, it makes you think, doesn't it? About how often truly breakthrough ideas, not just in art, but in any field, how often they seem to spring from that internal spark, from a genuine passion or curiosity, rather than just responding to what the market wants or what the established powers expect.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating here is seeing how dramatically that internal shift, that change in the artist's head, affected how the world saw the work and eventually how it was accepted or initially not accepted.
So something for you, the listener, to think about here. When something is made purely out of that creator's enjoyment, that internal drive, without necessarily aiming for payment right away or getting the nod from the usual authorities, the gatekeepers, how does that change the thing itself, its actual nature? And what about its impact over time, its legacy? What can Monet's really quite audacious, joyful approach with his water lilies teach us about innovation, about finding your own path, and maybe about how acceptance sometimes follows even if it takes a while?